Hey guys, what's up, what's good? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl dammydayss back again with another video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about disagreeing in love. I was just reflecting the other day. I've been obviously myself in situations of conflict or observed others in other situations of conflict, and these are some of the points when I was reflecting that I thought it's important for us to remember, for me to remember, for you to remember. Disagreeing with another or having conflict is not something we can run away from. It's part of human relationships, but how we do it, how we deal with it is very important in the relationships that we build, and how we build relationships, how we, even if we are not building for the long term, how those relationships end, if they end sour or if it ends on a good note where you can still be cordial and all. So I hope these tips help us to firstly see that disagreeing is common, it's a thing, it happens, but there's a way to disagree in love, because as the Lord has, as a child of God, as a believer, I'm called to do everything in love as the Lord helps me. So to learn how to approach even tough matters, even tough situations and conflicts in love is super important for all of us. So let's get right into it without talking too much. So my first point is removing the mindset of I am here to win. I think that is very easy, super easy for us, super easy. Even when I think after I wrote this down, I had a weak conflict with someone and I was like, Dami. Like, you have to see, especially if it's a friend, if it's a family member, if it's a partner, whoever it is, you want to take away the mindset of that this is a problem between me and you. No, we are here against the problem. It's not that I'm trying to win, because when you have that mindset of I'm trying to prove a point, I'm trying to win, I'm trying to show that I can argue best, my point is over, you then get yourselves into situations and words that might not be very nice, might not be words that would be spoken in love or received in love. So taking away the mindset of I am here to win this argument would help us greatly, for the sake of the relationship moving on to be better. I think it's important for us to, bear that in mind and go in with the perspective of I'm here to gain understanding and perspective. Obviously, you might be right, the other person might be wrong, you might be right, you might be wrong, but you want to go there with the goal of I'm here to understand. I'm here to understand your perspective, and I'm here to listen, not to attack your perspective. I think perspective is so important. Oh, it's one of my passion topics. I love the topic of perspective. I think if we aim to all understand another person's perspective, I think it'll be easier for us to give a lot of people grace, because what happens most of the time is that we just run with what our perspective is. This is what they must have been thinking. This is how they definitely meant it. This is what they definitely said. Or, so even in communication, it's important when you're in conflict to say, let me understand what you just said. Like, let me clarify that that's what you actually meant. And most often than not, that's not what they actually meant. They maybe couldn't piece the statement or the sentence together in the best way. So going with the understanding, with the perspective and with the mindset that I want to gain understanding of why this person did this, why this person said that, gain perspective. And if you confirm that is wrong, then you can speak in love on how you disagree with that. And they should also have the understanding of gaining perspective and gaining understanding for you. Winning the discussion isn't a productive end to disagreeing. You might hurt one another in that process of winning. Like, obviously we are satisfied as humans, but to what end does it bring that? Because you want to be able to aim to maintain good feelings still at the end of the conversation. Maybe people might need to walk away for a bit and come back, but the goal is I want to still be able to be cordial with this person. It shouldn't be that we can't stay in the same room after we just disagreed because everybody's head was hot and I won the argument, I feel better, this person feels worse. No. In that situation, always aim to respond and not react. When you're aiming to understand, you aim to, when you don't go in with the winning mindset, you're aiming to respond to their perspective, respond with understanding, not react to what they're trying to say. Okay. Number two, the biggest part of, conflict and giving feedback and all of that is being able to take away the mindset of personal rejection. And we humans are naturally defensive. If you tell me you did this, you never do that, you always do that, I'm probably going to be like, actually, let's hold on, that's not quite the case, because I remember when I did, so we are not one to accept constructive criticism or feedback without growing our mind and making that conscious intentional decision to understand that this probably and might not be a personal rejection. So firstly, for the person given, it's important, again, like I said in the beginning, when you go in with that winning mindset, you can give off the vibe that you are rejecting this person. But more importantly, for the person that is on the receiving end, aim to just conclude that resolve in your mind that I'm not going to see this as a personal rejection. I am made by the Lord. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I am growing. I'm not perfect. I'm not all that yet. So just aim, unless the person is really trying hard to definitely make you realize that you are really garbage, which would obviously not be nice. Aim to always have that mindset that, let me just take away every defensiveness here. If both people have that, you are able to receive better the feedback and just see it as a feedback, not as a personal rejection. There's a rejection of an idea and there's a rejection of a person. They're rejecting your ideas right now, not you as a person. So when you separate that, you are able to also respond in a way that you're not as offended, because you're not taking it as they are rejecting me as a person. More like, what this idea that I'm sharing, they might not agree with it per se, but it doesn't mean that they have any less regard for my person, if that makes sense. So seek to understand the rejection of the idea and to know that it's a rejection of a perspective or of an idea in that circumstance, rather than that of your person. I hope that makes sense. Number three is bringing other weapons in. We do this quite nicely, quite beautifully. We love to do this as human beings, bringing another weapon in, aka also known as another matter that is not related. Most of the time, I've grown in that mindset, I'm still growing, where if I'm arguing with someone or disagreeing with someone, I'm like, I always try and take a moment that, are we still on the point? What is the point here? Like, what were we arguing about? What were we disagreeing on? But some people, it's easy for one person to bring in, okay, there was a time you also did that. There was a time you also did that. That time that you, no. That time has gone, babes. Like, if you didn't bring it up then utilo, it has gone. It is gone. That's why it's important to address issues as they come, because when you don't address it as they come, then it just piles up, and then you're like listing a whole bunch of things that this other person probably may not know about. So it's important that the topic of disagreement, the topic of our argument right now, I don't like to use the word argument, but disagreement, our topic of conflict right now, we're focusing on that. Where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? Where did you go wrong? What do you get what I mean? But when you bring in other weapons, firstly shows that you have been hoarding things, and maybe that situation that we're talking about now is actually not that deep. It's probably because you had other things against me before. So bringing in other weapons for the person you're disagreeing with is just not nice. It's just nice. It limits the original point of this conversation, because now we are distracted. Now we are dealing with other things. I don't know what I'm even meant to take away from this in terms of my construction or where to go and be better. I'm now thinking about when that time was, whether I remember or I don't remember. So try and keep it to the issue at hand. This is what I didn't like. This is what I'm not happy with. This is how you acted that I don't like it in this situation. Whatever happened outside that, we should have brought it up. If we didn't bring it up, you can bring it another time as just that situation, so we know what we're talking about. But sometimes you want to make the person feel like, actually, again, that they are really like Jesus's worst enemy, And again, that leads me nicely to my next point. Ensure that you clearly state your point. Like, I find that in some disagreements or in some arguments I may find myself in, it's like, what are you trying to say here? Like, we're just going around in circles. Like, state your point clearly so that the other person is able to, again, receive and understand. You're not going back to the previous point. You're not saying this, you're not saying that, you're not saying that. Like, what is the point? What is your point here? Don't bring in generalizations. Don't bring in always. Don't bring in you never. Try to keep it to the point and clearly state your point so that you're like, this is the point I'm stating that I did not like. This is the point I'm stating against your perspective that you have presented that I don't agree with. When you introduce fighting phrases, the other person almost has nothing to say to that. If you start generalizing, if you start bringing in many points, you are just closing the door of reaching an agreement, which again should not be the goal of an argument. You want to be able to give room for the person to respond, not attack to the point that you mute them completely. Number 5 is about insultive words. It's difficult if you grew up around that, where maybe Nigerians are, we love doing this. You know, we say we're in love, we say we love this person, yet we are like insulting them. And for a while, I was also part of that. I remember at uni, it was just vibes. Like, that's how you speak. That's what you do. But in growing in Christ, I realized that your words should always be laced with grace. You know, your words should always be seasoned with salt. So insulting the other person on a normal day might be taken lightly by some, but in an argument, most definitely not. So one thing definitely, where I first saw the fruit of this was in my relationship. My boyfriend at the time, now my husband, we started our relationship with no insultive words. Like, we are not going to use derogatory words towards each other, no matter how heated the argument is. And because of that, I have learned, years of dealing with conflict and disagreement, and also just being a child of God and trying to look more like Christ, that when you are disagreeing, you're not calling out names, you're not using insultive words. Again, it just like diminishes the person. It just puts them down to their knees. Like, what is your point here? Are you trying to attack the person, or are we trying to have a resolution about the situation? When I say insultive words, they are things that are clearly insultive, but just even like terms that might not be clear as insultive, but they are, like, just putting someone down where there's no need to. Like, he's always childish, or you are always acting so childish right now. It might not come across insultive, but you want to aim to not lower the person that they already feel in this argument. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And I pray that, the Lord helps all of us. And in that same line, try not to shout. Try not to raise your voice. Raising your voice does not raise the point. Raising your voice does not put the point across. Try. It's not always possible, but try not to shout. Shouting just adds fuel to the fire. And this leads me to number 6, which is communication stoppers. Insultive words are communication stoppers, or communication aggravators, should I say. Even simple phrases as yes, but, I know, but, some people obviously can go past that, and the other person also says yes, but when you come into a disagreement and it's always a yes, but, you are basically saying, I've heard you, but this is actually what but you want to be able, going back to our first point, you want to be able to put across to the person that actually I've understood what you said. I hear you. I hear what you've said. I never thought of it that way. I see what you mean. However, this is how I'm also seeing it. Yes, but it's probably trying to say the same thing. However, it's probably just going to be a communication stop, because they're like, oh, well, like, you clearly don't understand me. Like, you're not listening here when you come with communication stoppers that just, halt them in their tracks. So try and come and demonstrate, I hear you, I'm listening to you, but maybe I don't understand where you're coming from, or I don't completely agree with where you're coming from. That's okay, but don't put it in a way where it's halting the conversation from evolving. With that is also coming with clarifications. Like I said in the beginning, clarify what you're trying to clarify, what the other person is saying, understand. So what I'm hearing is that you're saying this. What I'm hearing, I believe what I understand you to have said is this. Like, clarify, okay, I've heard that and this is how I see it instead. Have you ever thought of it in this way? Have you ever thought of how I felt from this perspective if you were in my shoes? You know, being able to word it like that allows the conversation to still be flowing. And again, it doesn't halt the journey of reaching resolution. It doesn't halt the journey of reaching an agreement, you know, when you are approaching it in that way. Finally, your body language. We all know this. There's a certain way that you can act, you can roll your eyes, you can pout, that is telling the person that actually you're trash. You're saying that actually I'm not listening to you, like I don't have time for this. And that's why I also strongly always say to myself and to others that even before you go into a moment of, I mean, some we don't plan it, some we can't prearrange them, but always aim to check if the person is actually in the frame of talking right now. Like I don't believe in forcing someone to deal with something at the time that both parties are not ready, because then you can't really comprehend all of these things that we've spoken about, and just arrange your mind to be in that setting of resolution. The person has to be in the frame of we are coming to resolve this, not in the frame of I'm still like aggravated. Do you get what I mean? So when you're coming into that space, it's important that your body language is also trying to say what you're saying, that your body language is not communicating another thing. So with all of this, I hope it will continue to help you and I, and how to deal with conflict, how to approach disagreements, how to disagree in love. I believe it's possible. May not be always, but these are some of the things that we can incorporate to train ourselves to just have more healthy disagreements with the people that we claim that we love, without having to, put them down. And if the relationship is not going to go anywhere after this, it's not left sour because you've been able, you've put in your best foot forward, even in the situation of conflict. I hope that makes sense. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time.